Is there any merit to the idea that this fucking Pelosi hammer guy, is there any merit to the idea that he was like some gay lord or something? Like, I don't know, it sounds like schizo shit. Stranger things have happened, but it sounds like schizo shit to me. Let's just see what Joe Rogan's got to say, and we'll look at some other coverage as well. If there's any coverage that defends this or thinks it's good, then we'll have a look at it. But yeah, I just want to see what it's all about, really.
Yeah. I don't hear. There we go. The Department of Homeland Security was they had a plan to police information, and they were working with Twitter in some fashion. Like, look at this. Quietly broadening its effort to curb speech it considers dangerous.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
An investigation by The Intercept has found years of internal DHS memos, emails, and documents obtained via leaks and an ongoing lawsuit, as well as public documents, illustrate the expansive effort by the agency to influence the tech platforms.
Shit.
The work, much of which remains unknown to the American public, came into clear view earlier this year when DHS announced a new disinformation governance board.
Good Lord.
A panel designed to police misinformation, false information spread unintentionally, disinformation, false information spread internally, intentionally, and malinformation, factual information shared typically out of context with harmful intent. Malinformation's a weird one.
Malinformation?
Yeah.
Right wingers going to jerk off to this for years. But the problem I've got is, like, I think we need to be careful to, like, not do the thing where we just go, oh, the right is saying this is bad, and that, like, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe we need to be considerate of the fact that this is actually potentially quite a bad thing that's going on that we ought to be aware of, you know? I agree that the right are probably going to take it to, like, an extremity in terms of how they present this, and they're going to misrepresent it or, like, over-represent it in terms of what it means and what it is. But I think, we need to strip away the bullshit and just say, well, what is this? What is the scope of this? How bad is it? Like I say, I think that there are some civil liberty institutions that are, like, talking about how this is potentially going to come at odds with, like, the First Amendment, right?
Yeah, because it's factual, but it's shit.
Because the thing is, I feel like Americans feel like, oh, we got the First Amendment, and the government's all about the First Amendment, but that's not true. There's been a number of times in history where the government's, state or federal government has come at odds with the First Amendment, and has even taken actions that historically have been looked at as being in opposition to the First Amendment. One example being the San Diego, there was a free speech battle in San Diego because workers were, like, talking about how they wanted to have this, like, what is it? Oh man, I can't remember. Do you know what I'm talking about? The whole point of the First Amendment is to protect you from the government. That's true, but then if a tech platform is being influenced about what should and shouldn't be censored by the government, is that not potentially a loophole that the government's taken advantage of? Do you see what I mean? And they're going, right, well, we can't do it directly, but if we tell these tech platforms what we think is and isn't misinformation, is that an attempt by the government to somewhat subvert? The government and the people are at odds. Yes. Okay, I see where you're coming from. Yes, I agree with you. But people don't think like that. I think, okay, righties do, and righties take it too far, sure, but righties see the government and the people at odds when it comes to the Bill of Rights. But I feel like lefties and libs sometimes, I feel like they don't really think like that. It's weird. It's like they don't see it in that same way. Do you know what I mean? Liberals probably are one of the groups that most fall into this trap, where they think that the government is by default. I'm speaking very broadly. Obviously, not every liberal thinks this, but they're going to think that the government is like the protector of like, say, the Bill of Rights or something like that. But obviously, the truth is, if you take a step back, often like you say, it's true. The people and the government are going to be at odds, and this could be an example of where they are at odds. And I just don't think you should let it pass you by just because the right are going, oh, look at this is crazy. You should listen and go, okay, well, stripping aside what the actual fucking right-ward bullshit is, what is actually a problem here? What is true?
Scared, typically out of context.
With harmful intent. That's where you're like, look, you don't understand why we mowed down those reporters with a chopper. It's out of context. You can't just show the video.
While the board was widely ridiculed, immediately scaled back, and then shut down within a few months, other initiatives are underway as DHS pivots to monitoring social media now that its original mandate, the war on terror, has been wound down. So that's been wound down, apparently.
Oh.
Platforms have got to get comfortable with government. It's really interesting how hesitant they remain. Microsoft executive Matt Masterson, former DHS official, texted Jen Easterly. Look at that. Platforms have got to get comfortable with government. Oh,
what does that mean?
I don't know. Tim Pool sent me this morning. I didn't get a chance to read. I was in the gym.
No.
Look, you got to get comfortable with government.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
Just get comfortable.
Yeah, why aren't you comfortable?
Cozy up.
Why aren't you
Put on some sweatpants. Cozy up. Wow, that's creepy. I mean, I guess we all kind of suspected it, though, right? It's not like anybody. Is that a shocker?
Well, what Tim Pool said is that Twitter was working with them. That I guess they weren't being honest about it. They were working with them. Were you telling me that Jimmy Kimmel tweeted something and tried to delete it?
Yeah, it looks like I could be wrong about this, but
Yeah, I saw this, yeah. This may be the biggest... Wait, what? This may be the biggest story of our lives, and perhaps one of the most shocking revelations in US history. Yeah. I don't know about that, man. That seems excessive. That seems a bit fucking excessive, right? This is what I mean. This is what I just fucking said, right? The righties are going to fucking lose their mind and say the most insane shit about this. And that's what you've got to strip away. And you've got to go, okay, just disregard that. Disregard that, okay? Like even the author, this Ken Klippenstein guy, who you probably know from Twitter. I wrote this story and I don't even think this. But yeah, Tim, I agree with what you were saying earlier. There is a balancing line. And obviously the government, you know, terrorism, planning a terrorist attack is not protected by the First Amendment, right? So if the government were to say, hey, there's an ISIS thing here, you need to remove that, and they go, yep, sure, no problem, that's fine. But I think it starts to get into more hairy territory when we're talking about like COVID stuff, you know? And that's where it becomes really tricky, because obviously the government is going to be best placed in some cases to inform what is and isn't information about COVID, because, you know, a lot of information, a lot of research comes from government affiliated bodies and research and stuff like that. So it's, you know, oh man, it is fucking hard. It is fucking hard. You know? And I guess the thing for me with this is like, are we falling on the line of we're going, well, the government seems pretty reasonable in what they're saying here, or are they pushing it too far? You know, potentially in opposition to the First Amendment. Like I say, the fact that there's some civil liberties organisations that are saying this is potentially a risk in terms of the First Amendment. The government is here to protect the people from outside forces. The Bill of Rights is here to protect the people from government. Who is here to protect the people from themselves? Well, that's big tech companies, isn't it? That's Twitter. Twitter's going to protect you from yourself. Haven't you had enough to think? But no, in all seriousness, you know, I don't know. Is there anything that explains this in a way that supports it? All I've seen is people saying it's a bunch of bullshit, but I would like to see the other side, just so I make sure that, you know, we're not getting too crazy into the conspiracy memes.
Kimmel was pissed at Musk.
Why?
For buying Twitter.
Who's this guy?
What does he care? What is he mad about?
So basically, like, a lot of people seem to be really upset with Elon for buying Twitter because Elon is saying that he's not going to
Oh, hey, King Badger.
censor Twitter anymore. He's going to like let, you know, all the banned people are going to get back on, apparently. You know, it's like they're trying to figure it out, how to do it. And so this has upset a lot of people who were happy.
Well, I'm glad we got the greatest minds assembled. No worries, King Badger. I hope it went well. I'm glad we got the greatest minds assembled to assess this. Right, let's have a look.
With the idea that it was being like hyper moderated in a way, I think that fits in with their politics.
Yes.
Right? That was the idea.
That's
so it's
the
like,
idea.
so like their team was in control for a second, and now somebody, you know what it reminds me of? It's like when a new booker shows up at a comedy club. Yeah.
The story has been immediately picked up by the usual suspects, claiming it reveals the smoking gun of how the Biden administration... That's fucking retarded. It's not the fucking... Oh, it's the Biden administration, man. Fuck me. Some of this stuff that's being done is the existing apparatus of government. Probably the same people that existed under Trump, because it's like the DHS. Like, I can't imagine that this is Biden going, right, start banning people from social media because they're posting COVID misinformation. This is going to be government departments whose staff persist from like any administration. It doesn't matter, because obviously you've got... This is why people talk about like the deep state, which is a really fucking cringe way of putting it. But you've got obviously leadership figures in government, but you've also got... In the UK, we call it the civil service. Is it called the same thing in America? But it's basically all of the government administrative positions that exist that aren't changed when you get a new president or a new whatever in office. Oftentimes, a lot of the structure of these organizations will persist even through different American presidents. So it's not really necessarily anything directly to do with like Biden or Trump or whoever. This is just the course of the US government, and that's what they want to be doing regardless of who's in power. Who is this? What's Tech Dirt? Who is this that's written this? Mike Masnick. I don't know who that is. Anyway, listen to the more schizo posting.
And all the comics start talking shit. It's like scary.
It has been interesting over the years to watch you blossom from the electric car guy into a fully formed piece of shit. Wow.
And look, see, it says this tweet was deleted by the tweet author.
Learn more.
He was replying to a tweet that Elon tweeted.
And what was the
that
tweet?
Elon deleted, which I think was the thing.
That was a tweet where it's this. It's like the Santa Monica Observer or something like that was tweeting something about the Paul Pelosi attack, and that Santa Monica Observer has been known to tweet things that aren't correct, or at least has, or not tweet, publish things that aren't correct. At least has in one instance that they were citing something about Hillary Clinton. I don't know, but I think what Elon tweeted was there's a tiny chance
Little camera there.
that we might not
Still
be
getting
getting
used
the
to
full
it.
story, and then he tweeted that story.
Yeah.
And this is the idea that maybe Paul Pelosi knew this guy, because people have been trying to pin that guy and say that he was a right-wing MAGA guy. But
Okay, guys. I don't know anything. I've seen that article we watched the other day. Before I say anything, thank you very much for the Prime sub. Is there any merit to the idea that this fucking Pelosi hammer guy, is there any merit to the idea that he was like some gaylord or something? Like, I don't know, it sounds like schizo shit. Stranger things have happened, but it sounds like schizo shit to me. I thought it was pretty straightforward. He was like QAnon, rightoid, moron kind of guy. So Adam with the Prime sub. Gridhook with the sub, thank you. Well, he's Canadian, yeah, maybe. He was a leftist at the start of the decade. Yeah, I don't know, man. Sounds
Didn't he
kinda
live
crazy.
in like some fucking hippie collective and he made like hemp jewelry?
He did Woo to Q pipeline. He went Woo to Q. So like he apparently had some kind of blog or something. I think he started off Woo, super hippie, ayahuasca, mystical, and then gradually kind of devolved into Q.
QAnon.
QAnon.
Twitter's
Hey,
fact checking the president of the
Thank you for
United
the
States'
sub.
incorrect facts.
Right.
Which is crazy that that's happening.
Well, this is the emperor wears no clothes.
Yes.
That's the fable, right? Like
Yes.
there's naked dudes going
Yes.
around. Everybody's scared of him, so they're like, beautiful robes.
Yes.
And then some kid is like, he's naked. Look, he's obviously naked. And then another person's like, oh yeah, you're right, he is. It's like that is the like I guess the hope of the internet is that truth comes out and it destabilizes bad bad structures.
Exactly.
You want
Exactly.
to throw a monkey wrench into shit that doesn't work so that it like stops working and you rebuild instead of patching up old wobbly things that are like smoke's coming out, gears are flying off, and you're supposed to pretend like it's
yeah.
working.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure that like, you can be a right winger and a hippie, right? Think about hippies from like the 70s. Oh my God. Legate Lanius with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you very much. Super generous of you. I appreciate you. You can be a hippie right winger. Like it feels like they're trying to use the fact he was a hippie to cast doubt on the fact that he was maybe a rightoid. Yeah. Of course. You think, okay, you know the hippies at Woodstock? What do you think they're doing now? Do you think they're fucking woke? Like, no, they're not. Yeah, exactly. They all think the politicians drink adrenochrome to sustain themselves for 100 years. Like, come on, man. Of course. They fucking lost the plot.
Working.
Right.
That's where it gets creepy. It's like, if the machine that is failing starts telling
did they?
tech
Okay.
companies or whoever like what is real and what isn't, then a broken machine is then like articulating truth, which then so if someone starts telling the truth, the emperor wears no clothes. And then like Twitter throws up underneath like this is potential misinformation or whatever.
And that's why this Department of Homeland Security
I don't know,
thing is so
man.
creepy.
Okay.
Because that would be the same people that are telling you things that are factually inaccurate or that are getting fact checked on Twitter would be the very people that would get to dictate what is malinformation.
Yeah.
Like
Well, this is the problem, though, is I feel like there's definitely concern. I agree with the concern. However, I feel like there's a lot of like leaps being made here. Like, I think this is troubling. I think it's worth being aware of. I think if there's further investigation that can be done, whatever, cool. But I don't know if it's like that straightforward. I don't know if it's as straightforward as like the DHS types into a computer, you're not allowed to say this about COVID, and then Twitter go, yep, no problem, boss, we'll make it so. But yeah, anyway.
malinformation was the craziest one. Like everybody thinks you shouldn't be able to say things that aren't true, right? Or if you do, you must correct them. Like, are you telling the truth or are you manipulating with lies?
Right.
You can't manipulate with lies. So if maybe you said something and you thought it was true,
Hey, Uncanny Valley,
let's
thanks for the bits.
correct that.
Yeah.
But if you just keep doing that over and over and over again, you never admit that, and then you're the one who gets to dictate what's malinformation.
Right.
It's like the death throes of a dying system. And
Wait, is he saying that's the US government? Oh man. This is a bit of a mess. I gotta say.
it's reaching out in a time, and it's acting and behaving the way it used to be able to behave when it had total access to what people get informed about or not.
It has been detailed exactly how the government tells social media what to remove off the fact check. Yeah, it is schizo posting, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I've been sort of scanning over this as I've been watching this. Does it really lay it out that clearly? Well, yeah, it's like yeah, it seems that it's more of a request than a dictation, right?
Right.
It had complete control of that at one point in time.
Well, it's massive. I mean, we're talking about how many offices are filled with people working for the government right now. Like how many? If you put them in a building, like would the building go all the way to the moon? Would it be like a high rise that went? Probably the moon would be covered with government office buildings. But like it's massive, and then it's so huge that just people get put into departments, and some of the people that get put in the departments are good, smart people. And some of the people that get put in the departments, they suck. And
right, like everything in all walks of life.
Yeah, right. And
Yes.
that's all it takes. So you get one, like, everybody's had a shitty manager. You get one shitty manager in some job where, like, he's got a little or more power than he's supposed to have. And then he's probably got people around him who are like, this is a bad idea. And he's like, well, you're fired. And then people come in who are like, this is a really good idea. He's like, you're a genius if you think this is a good idea, because it is. Then you have this like terrible geometry of like where a contagion happens, where this one asshole like starts getting surrounded by concentric circles of assholes.
Thanks for the bits.
And then those people have so much power. And that's, I think, what's going on with it is it's just like there's just too many people running things, and of those people there's got to be some that are great. I know there is, and there's some that are just abject, monstrous, power hungry, coked up assholes. And I think that's when you start seeing shit like that. It's clearly a sign of, I mean, again, maybe I'm being naive, but I'd like to imagine that that's coming from like a few assholes. That's not coming from the totality of the U.S. government, all of it. It's just coming from like, what, 1,000 assholes?
But then there's also the real problem of actual misinformation that's being spread by bad parties, right? Like we know that. We know that there's misinformation that gets spread by bad governments, by like our enemies. Like we know that there's a whole industry to like these Russian troll farms.
Sure.
We've talked about this before, but on Facebook, 19 of the top 20 Christian sites were being...
While we're listening to two conspiracy theorists jerk each other off, because obviously conspiracy theorists are the absolute best source of information when it comes to assessing this DHS story.
Run by Russian troll farms.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
You know how nuts that is?
Fucked up.
That means they're like some conversations that are insane that don't make any sense. Like how is this a conversation? Well, it might not be. It might be we're getting manipulated. It might be there's a bunch of and then the problem with people we were talking about before, that we have this natural inclination to follow leaders. We do that online too, man. And if there's like some really good tweets that point in a certain direction, people will start agreeing.
Yeah, basically so for those of you who aren't aware, I'll just catch you up quickly. The Intercept published this story, which talks about the Department of Homeland Security and essentially their efforts to police misinformation, and how they originally were focused on foreign misinformation, but more recently they've turned their attention to like internal misinformation. And it's just kind of looking at and considering like what the implications of this are. Are there any First Amendment issues, stuff like that? Yeah, I think there's definitely stuff here which is troubling, certainly. But like, I really hate the way these rightoids take it and run 1,000 miles in the other direction with it. And it's like, DHS are potentially engaged in like, some form of attempting to influence big tech platforms and what speech is and isn't permitted. Trying to influence what speech is and isn't permitted. and it goes straight to like, Biden is trying to fucking censor us. And it's like, come on, man. It's not that simple. The government can't request a private org to police speech. That's not true. The government can request... The government can ask a platform to remove illegal material. So they can police speech. But the thing is, where it becomes difficult is if speech is protected by the First Amendment, is it the government's place to be the one to tell tech platforms whether they should take it down or not? And the thing is, it seems like the requests aren't like definitive, you must take it down. But even so, I think, yeah, there's definitely stuff here that's worth being considerate of. But it's just about being careful to not like jump the gun and be like, Biden is censoring my COVID takes. That's probably insane.
With it.
Right.
People are easily... The idea that manipulation only applies to like verbal or written in a statement. No, it fucking applies to tweets too. You can manipulate people.
Dude,
with
I
stuff.
get manipulated all the fucking time. Are you kidding me? I'm like always getting caught up in bullshit online. I like go through like phases of like, yeah, oh my God. I pendulum between teams, or I'll get caught up in some like deep, crazy conspiracy. It's a very potent, by the way, I'm not saying it's potent because I get manipulated easily, but it's a potent drug.
Yes,
the internet's a potent drug. There's all kinds of operators. It's not just Russian troll forums. It's Discordians. It's just basic like trolls who are bored. It's who knows what. Probably some cult we'll never know about. Just some weird cult on an island somewhere with some nefarious purpose that's like trying to put some certain information on the internet. It's a ocean of madness. And maybe like the horrible idea is, okay, we can control the ocean of madness. That's what we're going to do because some of these people are other states trying to cause discord in our society that could lead to a civil war, the collapse of the United States. We've got to do something about this. Call up Twitter. Listen, it's a problem. You got to let us tell you what's real and what's not real. And at first, maybe that's great. It's like, look, this is 100% coming from Russian trolls. This, whatever this is Russian AI trolls. But then, all of a sudden, the president calls that department. Is like, hey.
Chud, are you far right? Yes, I am. I'm the farthest right person online you can imagine. Correct.
Is there any way that you could also start applying that to people who say that I seem like I'm kind of out of it? You know what I mean? And then...
So if the Biden admin... So if the Trump admin told Twitter to ban Hillary for some reason, that would be fine. Do you have... Okay. Twitter's decision to... Wait, are you saying that it was the Biden admin... Even though it wasn't actually in place then, it was still Trump's administration in power. Are you telling me... Well, that doesn't make any sense, because when Trump was banned, Trump was in office. Trump was the president. Well, how does that make sense? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Explain it to me. Explain what you mean. Because it was the Trump administration in power when Trump got banned from Twitter. I'm pretty sure it was Twitter's decision to ban him. Unless you've got some sort of proof that actually it was something else, some government department somewhere instructed Twitter to remove Trump. It was after he lost, but he was still in office, wasn't he? I don't think he thought that one through.